Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another watch list. Basically, think of this as a monthly TV guide for me to let you know what and when TV shows that I'm interested in, that maybe you're interested in, are coming out. Like always, in the description down below, I'll include links to any trailers that might be available to anything that I bring up during this watch list. On April 3rd on the CW, we have the 4th season of Walker, which I'm very excited about. This kind of snuck up on me. I'm not actually quite sure what to fully expect because I actually don't remember where season 3 ended. I remember some of the storylines, but like the season 3 finale, I actually don't fully remember everything that went down in it. So I'm definitely going to have to like recap myself a little bit about that. I will also note, nothing has been said definitively, but rumblings have kind of been made people wonder whether this will end up inadvertently being the final season. I don't think they've gone into it with the intention of it being the final season, but obviously with the changes to the CW, especially when it comes to like scripted stuff, it's just kind of like, and you know, how things have changed, like this show might be on the chopping block. Not trying to put that out there, but it's just something that has to be kind of kept in mind. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this season, what the story ends up being. Like I said, there might be a trailer out at the time of me recording this, but I haven't seen anything. I kind of want to go into the season not knowing as much, so I'm probably going to avoid watching it during, but I'm curious to see where the Walker family as a whole finds themselves this season. On April 4th on Netflix, we have a limited series called Ripley. Basically what I can pick up from the trailer, it seems like Andrew Scott is playing like this con man who kind of enters this kind of richer dude's life, and it's just kind of unraveling this mystery of like, well, what happened to this dude? It seemed like something might have happened, and he came into his life and kind of swayed this guy very heavily. I think I saw Dakota Fanning's in this, and I don't know if she's playing like either his wife or his sister or something like that, and she doesn't trust Andrew Scott's character. Like, this guy was always kind of an issue, and it just seems like a lot. He definitely like fake passports, hiding his identity. Is he running from something, running towards something? Like what that whole deal is. It's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, it's a limited series, so it's going to be interesting to see what the story in totality ends up being. Also on Netflix, dropping the same day, will be a new series. I don't know if it's limited or not, called Crooks. Basically what I picked up from the trailer, because I've seen the trailer like once and a half times, because I watched it once and then like I watched it half. I was like, I'd rather not know as much, but my general understanding is like there's a very special coin that a whole bunch of criminals are after, and it's just kind of like this shenanigan filled adventure of like who has the coin, and you know, because it seemed like one particular guy has it and then everyone's chasing after him to try and get the coin. It seems like kind of kooky. I don't know if it's just the way the trailer is cut and just the atmosphere of the trailer, but it kind of has this like I say, kooky or wackiness to it. I don't know if the entire show is going to have that feel to it, but from what I remember of the trailer when I saw it the first time all the way through, it seemed like it had that vibe. So it just seems interesting. Once again, another crime drama on the list. On April 5th on Netflix, we have Parasite the Grey. This is a South Korean live-action adaptation of the Parasite manga. I'm not well versed in Parasite. I've never read the manga, nor have I ever watched the anime. My understanding is that even the anime isn't like a full adaptation of the manga, that like that the anime takes its own liberties, maybe a la like Full Metal Alchemist versus like the manga or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, I don't know if it's like to that extent, but that was something I heard years ago. I'd be interested to watch the anime before this live action comes out, because the live action isn't an adaptation, isn't a straight up adaptation of either the anime or the manga. It's just kind of its own thing. It's like, I guess it's like, take that universe of what, and the premise of what Parasite is, and just tell your own story. I'm interested to check it out. Like I said, I want to try and watch the anime at least a little bit, to just kind of like, oh, just to be able to compare and contrast the worlds a little bit and just the stories. And like I said, the live action is doing its own thing, but still. On April 7th on Hulu, question mark I should say, gotta add to that, we have the series premiere of the Go-Go Loser Ranger anime. So really quickly, I've only heard about this recently, but obviously the manga's been going on for a while. But my understanding of it is Go-Go Loser Ranger, the way I've heard someone describe it, it's kind of like The Boys on Prime Video, if they've ever seen it. It's kind of like that, where like superheroes are really the bad guys. It's kind of like that, where like there's this, like it's like almost like this Boys meets Power Ranger parody. I mean, it's literally like Power Rangers, where like, hey, these heroes are Power Rangers, but they're bad guys. Maybe not to the extent like the Seven are in The Boys, but kind of in that vein. And so I was like, oh, that seems so interesting of a concept, because I really like that concept with The Boys, and I'm curious to see that in a very like manga or like anime type world. So I'm really interested to check that out. Like I said, that's my basic understanding of it, because I think the main protagonist is like one of the aliens almost like Rita Repulsa's group in the original Power Rangers. It's kind of similar to that, but instead of being on a Power Rangers side, you're on Rita Repulsa's side. It's kind of a similar dynamic, and our protagonist is actually like the alien bad guy fighting against the good guys who are actually the bad guys. So, like I said, very much in line with The Boys. So it's a really interesting concept, and like I said, other than like the little bit I've heard about it, I think there's a trailer out, but I'm not quite sure. I don't think I really watched it. I saw the name and knew the recognition, so I'm probably going to leave it at that. I said Hulu because obviously I think Hulu's been doing this recently where it's like some place, because obviously like Disney Plus and Hulu work differently here in the States than it does otherwhere. Because I think in other places it's just going to be on Disney Plus, because I know some countries have Disney Plus and Star is basically their version of Hulu. Whereas like here we have Disney Plus and Hulu. That's the whole thing. But yeah, I believe it's going to be airing on Hulu here in the US, but just other places like just Disney Plus in some countries, and just I think Japan has its own specific channel that it's going to air on. But yeah, but like I said, it's just interesting concept. I'm excited to check it out. Also on the same day, also potentially on Hulu, very much in the same vein as a Go-Go Loser Ranger, like how it's being, like what platform it's getting released on type of situation. We have Mission Yasakura Family. This is kind of this spy romantic comedy manga that's finally getting an anime adaptation. Basically, the premise I read up, I haven't watched it, once again, just want to get the general synopsis, but basically this boy's family dies in a car accident, and he basically starts his childhood friend, he ends up finding out, oh, his childhood friend comes from a family of spies, and in order to protect her, because they kind of get put together and married, so in order to protect her, he has to become a spy himself. That's the tagline, that's the synopsis I read on Wikipedia. Once again, I have not watched the trailer. You know, I'm fine with just that little line of dialogue without giving too much away. I've never really watched too many anime trailers, so anime trailers might not give away as much as I kind of think they do. I'm going to talk about another one later on that kind of does a similar thing. But either way, it seemed like an interesting concept, and having never read the manga, seems like an interesting jump-off point for the show with the series with the anime. So I'm excited to check it out. Like I said, I believe it's also going to be airing on Hulu here in the States. Once again, anyone that's watching this internationally, you know, look it up yourself, like whether it's a Disney Plus situation or somewhere else, you know, that'll be streaming in your respective countries. April 10th on Crunchyroll, we have the anime series premiere of Viral Hit, which I'm very excited about. I've read a little bit of it in the past, but I have more recently started reading a lot more. I'm not fully caught up. I'm purposely trying not to be too caught up. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with the concept behind Viral Hit, basically you have the main protagonist Hoban, who's been basically kind of like put in like a shuttle like situation of like being bullied and making people do stuff to him and beat him up. It's kind of like, oh, people make content on YouTube or in the series NewTube to like make videos about it, but Hoban decides like he's going to stand up for himself, and finding these videos of this guy named Samdak on YouTube, he takes these videos about how an amateur can fight against someone, like even though you have no fighting experience, learn how to fight back, and Hoban starts standing up for himself to fight back against his first full bully, Paco, and all from there the race is how it all starts popping off. He starts his own YouTube channel called Viral Hit, and it's about him calling out bullies and fighting them, and it's just kind of a wacky series. It can be funny, it's very action orientated, but it could also be very dramatic. So I'm very excited to see also like how much the anime is going to cover storyline wise. There's some points I'm like, well, they can end up stopping there, they can end up stopping there, so it's going to be interesting to see how much of, they're obviously not going to be like covering up to where the webtoon now. I don't even see them fully covering the entirety of like what's kind of season 1 or part 1 of the story. Could be, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited because the trailer shows you up to a certain extent where the anime might go, but once again, pacing, you don't know like how much they're going to be able to squeeze into just one episode. So it's going to be interesting to see what the pacing of it's going to be like and see how much of the story it ends up covering. On April 11th on Prime Video, we have the Fallout series premiering. I don't remember, I believe all the episodes are dropping at once with this situation, if I remember correctly. But either way, Fallout is a video game franchise I know like the smallest amount. I know it's like a very post-apocalyptic world where it's like, oh, like nuclear fallout happened in like the 50s, and most of the world basically some of the world went underground, and it's about people coming out from the vaults. and resurfacing to the world. That's my understanding as other people have described it. I've seen bits and pieces of gameplay of different Fallout games. I've picked up a tiny bit, but I know practically next to nothing about Fallout. It's one of those video game franchises I've never touched, I've never played myself, so this will be my first time really entering this world. My understanding, someone had, the way someone else explained it who was more familiar with it, it seems like this Fallout series is like, yeah, taking place in this world of Fallout, but it's not adapting any of the games particularly. It's telling its own story in this universe, seems to be the case. So, but once again, I've heard good things about Fallout and just the world itself, and it just seems really interesting from the trailer. So I've only seen the teaser trailer. I've seen bits and pieces of the full trailer, but I wanted to avoid knowing too much. But I really like what I've seen, and so I'm excited to see the show. On April 17th on Hulu, we have a limited series called Under the Bridge. Well, mini-series is more so the word. Mini-series, limited series is kind of the same thing. This is a true crime series, which I kind of read a tiny bit on like the truth of what the story is, and it's really sad. But it almost seems like the story's kind of told from like the perspective of like this reporter coming into it. Like it almost seems like she's coming back home to her hometown she hasn't been in for a while, and she's working with the cops as they're dealing with like children that have started disappearing more and more, and kind of unraveling kind of like some of the stuff that's kind of been going on. It's like, right, these kids were known as like, what are they, like lighter children or whatever, and it's like, oh, why do they call you that? It's like, what's like Vic lighters or something? It's like, why do they call you that? It's like, because we're disposable, and just kind of the stuff the kids are mixed up in, and just, I don't know, having read a little bit, like I said, the smallest amount about the true stuff that it's based on, I was like, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Like, once again, I'm weird about true crime stuff to some extent. I'm adding it to the list. I might, just because of how depressing it is, I might not cover it. I don't know. We'll see when it's all said and done how I decide to handle it. I don't know if this is going to be a weekly release, because Hulu bounces back and forth between some stuff being weekly release, some stuff it being all at once, so I'm curious. Also that same day on Netflix, we have another anime, The Grimm Variations. Looking into it really quickly, but my basic understanding from what I was reading was basically it's like anime retellings of Grimm stories from like the Brothers Grimm, which I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I believe it's an anthology, so every story is going to be one of the Grimm stories. It seems like a really interesting concept. Obviously, I'm familiar with some of the Grimm stories. I mean, they've existed pop culture wise, but obviously they've changed in a lot of ways. Like obviously there's a lot of Disney adaptations of Grimm stories that have a more like fun, you know, spin to them, but obviously there's a lot of a more darker twist to those stories initially. So I'm curious to see what an anime version of them look like. Which line are they going to go with? The more darker versions? Are they going to like take the lighter version? Or are they going to find some middle ground of like, no, we're going to put our own anime feeling vibe? I'm curious to see what the approach is going to be, what the stories are going to end up being. I could be mistaken. I believe it's only 6 episodes, I believe, but I could be mistaken. On April 25th on Netflix, we have The Dead Boy Detectives, which I'm very, very excited about. This is a series based on characters and, you know, a story from the DC universe. I think it's specifically a Vertigo comic, but obviously that kind of bled over into the DC stuff. It might not even be Vertigo. It might just straight up be DC. I think it is. But obviously, I've talked about it when it came to the teaser trailer, but I'm familiar with these characters because they pop up in an episode of Doom Patrol. But basically, you follow these 2 dead kids. They are detectives, and they solve like supernatural crimes, and they meet a girl who kind of becomes a part of that whole situation. So once again, I'm basing this purely on the teaser trailer and the little I knew from the characters popping up in Doom Patrol, but I don't fully know what the story is going to be about, what the overarching mystery is going to be. Will it be episodical in some cases of, oh, here's the mystery of the episode, and then there's the overarching mystery, or whether or not everything is just going to be about the overarching mystery. It's going to be interesting to see, but I like the concept, and I like them in Doom Patrol, so kind of getting like see these characters in a full series is going to be really interesting to see. And finally, on April 30th on Hulu, we have a new mini-series or limited series called The Veil. Essentially, Elizabeth Moss is playing like an MI6 agent who is basically tasked with befriending and helping keep a woman alive who it knows a lot of stuff about, I think, an attack that's going to happen. You're very like spy crime thriller type of situation. So she's someone that's very good at like disappearing and kind of becoming someone else. So I try not to watch too much of the trailer, so I don't fully know where it's all going to go. But just from the trailer, once again, looking for something spy thriller related and actiony and stuff, it seems like this is going to be up your alley. It's up mine. So, God, that sounds so weird saying it like that. But either way, it just seemed really interesting for what I saw with the trailer. Because it's that, you know, thing of, oh, who do you trust? You not your typical Spy Hood type of situation. So, but yeah, that pretty much brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, if there's something that's coming out that maybe I wasn't aware of, that you're aware of, that you think me or someone else might be interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments. Really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.